Okay, so what we're going to do now is take a look at bone rolls in a bit more detail. So the first thing that I want you to do is go ahead and zoom in and click on the armature and switch this to edit mode. Go ahead and open this up. Now the bone in edit mode is going to decide what its local coordinate system is going to look like that it will use in pose mode. Now in edit mode, we can see what this local coordinate system will look like by simply looking at the axis that is displayed on its tail. Now, when we click on the body of this bone and press the R key 2 times, we can rotate this bone on its center and position the bone any way that we want. So if we left click this bone, this is what its local coordinate system will look like in pose mode. Do Ctrl Z to undo this. Now, if we press the R key and press the X key, we are rotating on the world space x-axis to position this bone. Now when we press the R key and press the Z key, we again are positioning this bone according to the world space z-axis. Whatever we do to this bone, let's say left click it like this is what the local coordinate system will look like in pose mode. We're going to do Ctrl Z until the bone goes back to its original position. Now if we want more control over how to position this local coordinate system, we can simply click on the tail of this bone. Now when we have the 3D manipulator set to global, and when we press the R key and press the X key, we are rotating this bone on its head according to the world space x-axis. Now when we press the R key and press the Z key, we are rotating this bone on its head according to the world space z-axis. Right click to cancel. Do Ctrl Z to undo this. Now when we change the 3D manipulator to local, this really is the axis that is coming from the armature itself, meaning pose space. Go ahead and click this. Now if we switch this to object mode, press the R key and press the Z key, we are rotating the entire armature. So now when we switch this to edit mode, and over here when we click on the tail of this bone and press the R key and press the X key 2 times, we are rotating according to pose space. Now when we press the R key, press the Z key 2 times, we again are rotating according to the pose space z-axis. So this z-axis is coming from the armature object itself. So what we're going to do is do Alt R to reset the rotation. Now go ahead and switch to edit mode and do Ctrl Z a few times until the bone goes back to its original position. Now we can go ahead and switch to pose mode to reset the grid, or you can simply just reload the file. Now here we're going to go ahead and switch back to edit mode and zoom in. Now if we want to have complete control over the positioning of the local coordinate system in edit mode, what we can do is simply click on the tail of this bone and switch this to normal. Now remember, you have to click on the body of this bone to see that the 3D manipulator is going to align itself with the axis that is being displayed on its tail. But when you click on the tail, the 3D manipulator is not going to show this, and that's okay. Now when we press the R key and press the X key, we are indeed rotating on the normal x-axis. Now when we press the R key and press the Z key 2 times, we are, you can see, rotating around the z-axis. So we have more control over how to position this bone when we use the 3D manipulator and set it to normal. Now if we want to rotate this bone along this y-axis, when we press the R key and press the Y key 2 times, Blender is not going to let us do this. This is where this concept of the roll is going to come in. So here when we click on the body of this bone, we can actually rotate this bone around the y-axis. So here, as I've said to you throughout these lessons, is that when you are looking at this concept, right, it's really about Blender asking you, how do you want to work with this bone in pose mode? So it's really coming down to the local coordinate system. So now that we have this bone positioned in this way, when we switch this to pose mode, you can see that this is what the local coordinate system is going to look like. Now, when we change the x value on this bone, of course it's going to move according to its local coordinate system on the z and on the y. We're going to do Alt G to reset the location. Now when we are in pose mode and we want to have control of the rotation of this bone according to the axis that is being displayed on its tail, we know that we have to switch to local. So this local represents the axis that is displayed on the tail, but in edit mode, this local represents the armature's pose space axis. Okay, anyways, so when you have this selected, when you have this set on local, you can press the R key and press the Y key 2 times and rotate this bone around the Y. Press the R key, press the Z key, rotate around Z, and of course X. So this is the first part of understanding bone rolls that I want you to grasp. Go ahead and now reload this file. Okay, so now we're going to look at the second part to understanding bone rolls. So what I want you to do is click on the armature and switch to edit mode. Click on the tail of this bone and press the 3 key to go to the right view and just zoom in a bit. Go ahead and open this up. Now you're going to press the R key and press the control key down and lay this bone back down. Right? So now when we do the middle mouse button and click on the body of this bone, we can see that its axis is aligned to the world coordinate system. So as I've shown you, whenever you add objects inside the 3D view, every object will always initially align itself to the world coordinate system. So when Blender adds a bone inside the 3D view, this is how the bone will enter first. Then it will be rotated to appear vertically. So when we do Shift A to add a new bone, you can see that this is what Blender's doing. Now what I want you to notice over here is look at the z-axis. The z-axis is going to be perfectly aligned to the y and z plane that belongs to the armature object. So we're going to press the 7 key to go to the top view to look at this. See how this z-axis is aligned to the y and z plane? Look at the bone roll, it's at 0. So what I want you to do is do the middle mouse button to rotate and click on the tail of this bone and press the 7 key to go to the top view. Now click on this red arrow and just move the tail over here. Click on the body of this bone. Notice how the z-axis is kept perfectly aligned by this bone by changing the bone roll all around the y-axis. This is why this bone roll is changing. Okay, now when we do Alt R to reset the bone roll when it goes to 0, notice that the z-axis is pointing towards the y and z plane. Okay, so we're going to understand this concept. Now the other thing that I do want to show you over here is that when you are adding bones, let's say we click on the tail of this bone and actually kind of position it like this. When we press the E key, notice that over here, when we initially extrude this, how the axis on the tail is changing, and look at the bone roll. See how that's changing? So when we, let's say, put this bone like this over here, and look at this, when we do Alt R to reset its rotation, again, the z-axis is pointing towards the y and z plane. It doesn't matter how many times you add these bones. So this is what we're going to understand. Why does the bone do this when we reset the roll? So to do this, what I want you to do is go ahead and reload the file. Click on this grid, do X and delete it. Click on the armature, press the tab key to go into edit mode, do X and delete this bone and press the tab key. So we are only left with an empty armature. Now you're going to click on this red arrow and move this away from the center of the 3D grid. So what we're going to do is first expose these planes that belong to the armature's axis that is being displayed over here. So do Shift S and you're going to do cursor to select it. Now do Shift A and add a grid, press the tab key, do X and delete only faces, and now press the tab key. So what this plane is representing right now is really for the Y and X plane, right? Now because the Y and X plane objects can move along Y up and down on a Z and X, we're going to need two additional planes. So here we're just going to do Shift D to duplicate this, right click to cancel, press the 1 key, press the R key, press the Control key down and rotate this by 90 degrees. So this is the plane that represents the Y and Z plane. Okay, so this is what's going to play a significant role in understanding what's happening to the bone rolls. Now if we want to see the X and Z plane, we can just do Shift D, press the 7 key, press the R key, press the Control key and rotate this by 90. Okay, now we can just press the A key to select everything to see that this is what the plane coordinate system looks like that belongs to the armature. Okay, so this is the first concept. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and A to deselect, go ahead and click on this plane, press the Shift key down, click on this plane and this plane. Now click on the armature. You can do it in the outliner, do Control P, and you're going to do Object. So now when we have the armature selected, when we press the R key, notice that how this entire plane system moves with it. So just keep this concept in the back of your mind. Okay? And always remember about this plane. So what we're going to do now is simply reload this file. Now go ahead and click on the armature, click on this red arrow and move it away from the center of the 3D grid. Now press the tab key, click on this bone, click on this red arrow and move it to the right. Then click on this green arrow and move it kind of over here. Now we're going to press the tab key to go back into object mode. Of course we have to click on this grid, visual grid that represents what the coordinate system looks like for this bone. So we're going to here tell it to copy the location of this bone. Okay, so that's all this grid represents. Okay, now we're going to use this. So what we're going to do now is take a look at how does the bone look at this plane system that belongs to the armature. We can do this by simply clicking on the armature and actually switching to pose mode, having this bone selected, do Shift S and do cursor to select it. Now over here we're going to do Shift A. Now rather than adding a grid, it's a better idea to just add a circle. It still represents the same concept, and you will understand why we're doing this is because bones can really just rotate on their head. Go ahead and just add this circle. Okay, so this circle right now is representing the Y and X plane that belongs to the armature object. Now we're going to press the tab key, do Shift D to duplicate it, press the 1 key, press the R key, press the Control key down and rotate it by 90. Now this represents the plane for the Y and Z axis. Now do Shift D to duplicate it, press the 7 key, press the R key, press the Control key down and rotate this by 90. Now press the tab key. So this is what I want you to remember that travels with every bone. Okay, so what we're going to do is tell this thing to simply just do copy location. It will not copy the rotation of the bone, right? Because this belongs to the armature really. So go ahead and click on armature, and here we're just going to do a bone. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and click on this bone, and actually let's go ahead and save this file. Do file, save as, and save this as bone concepts 14.blend. Now go ahead and switch to edit mode, click on the tail of this bone and press the 3 key. Now, what I want you to notice is that when we press the R key to rotate this bone, press the Control key down and lay it back down, notice how the Z-axis is aligned to this plane, this circle over here, okay? We're going to go ahead and open this up. Notice that the bone roll is at 0. Press the 3 key. Now do Shift D to duplicate this bone. Right click to cancel. Just click on the tail. It doesn't matter which bone selects. Press the R key, press the Control key down and rotate it by 90. Notice that the Z-axis is again aligned to this plane and the bone roll is at 0. Now press the 3 key. Now you're going to do Shift D to duplicate this. Click on the tail, press the R key, and I want you to skip this and go press the Control key down and align it like this. And now click this over here. Look at this bone roll, it's at 0. So here you can see that in all 3 cases over here, the Z is always aligned to this plane. Okay, now we're going to take a look at this little technical issue that we're going to encounter over here. Now we're going to do, we can actually click on this one, do Shift D to duplicate it, click on the tail, press the R key, press the Control key, and now we're going to position it over here. Now we've already talked about this, but it's good to understand what's going on. Notice that the bone roll is showing -180. Now I've already shown you what this is, right? When we click over here, do Alt R to reset the bone roll, the Z just ends up pointing up, okay? This actually doesn't matter. What's important here is that the Z-axis again is aligned to this plane. So if you think about it, if you click on the tail, press the 3 key. If you go ahead and press the R key, notice that how the Z-axis is always pointing in this direction, right? Now, as I've shown you that when you click on this tail and just misalign it a little, very little, and click on this, do Alt R, now the Z-axis points correctly again, right? And if you click on this tail and move it up over here, do Alt R, it does the same thing, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind, okay? We're going to look at this in a bit more detail a little later. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and click on this, press the Shift key down, click on this one, this one, this one, press the 3 key over here, do Shift D to duplicate this entire thing, press the R key, press the Control key down, and just look on the header. You're just going to rotate this by 45 degrees. Now you're going to do Shift D again, duplicate it, press the R key, and here we're just going to eyeball this and rotate it kind of like this. Do Shift D to duplicate it, press the R key, and rotate it like this. Now press the A key to select everybody and do Alt R. You'll notice that all the bone rolls have been set to 0, but take a look at the Z-axis, how it aligns to this plane. That's what's going on over here, okay? Now, what we're going to do, let's actually first save this file. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and press the Shift key down and actually deselect this guy over here and deselect this guy. Do Shift D to duplicate this entire thing, press the 7 key, press the R key, press the Control key down, and now align it with the X and Z plane. Now just press the A key to select everybody and do Alt R. This is significant what I'm showing you over here. Now this is going to be a little difficult to click on because there are too many bones going on, but look at where the Z-axis is always aligned to this Y and Z plane, but look what's happening over here. See this? This bone, how the Z-axis is pointing this way. If I press the A key, you can see that it seems that it's almost like an animation. See how the Z-axis is twisting back down until it gets to this X plane where it's pointing straight up, okay? And how it starts to rotate until it comes back so it can align itself to the Y and Z plane, okay? So now if you analyze this going all the way down, you can see that after we pass this X plane over here, we can see that now this bone over here, the Z-axis is pointing again like this, but guess what happens? When it comes over here to this Y and Z plane, see how the Z is aligned perfectly? That's what this bone is doing along this plane. It's simply just rotating in this way, okay? Okay, so we're going to just first do a save, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.